Hey, little one. Are you ready for the story? Yeah? Alright. Get yourself tucked in, get nice and comfy. We'll be continuing where we left off in Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods. Part 2. The Hugag. There are several animals on this earth that lack knees. Most of these are legless creatures, snakes or fish and the like. But only the Hugag has 4 long, straight legs that cannot bend at all. This unusual characteristic gives the beast a distinctive lumbering gait. Some say the forests it lives in are for this reason known as the Lumberwoods. Others say this is a lie. But no one can deny the presence of the Hugag, the largest land animal in North America. Indeed, the diet of the Hugag, tree bark, and pine needles, which it strips from the trees with its dangly lips and swallows whole, coupled with its great size and prodigious appetite, risk destroying wide tracts of the lumberwoods through overgrazing. As the Hugags have few natural predators, the need to control their population has been a public policy issue since the 19th century. But how to hunt a creature the size of 17 President Taft's? Lumberjacks sought in vain to dig a pit so broad that the Hugag could not stride right over it on its stork-like legs. They wondered if fire would work against its resinous coat. It would not. They tried shooting the beasts, but Hugags are so large that bullets entering their body tire out and quit before hitting a vital organ. Even tracking the Hugag is difficult, as its tracks are so far apart. Furthermore, it possesses unsurpassed natural camouflage. The pine needles it eats pass unbroken through its digestive tract and into its bloodstream, to pop out through the creature's skin-like quills. The Hugag is literally bristling with plants and blends in with the evergreen trees all year long. Can't track it. The Hugag presented a problem until, that is, an opportunistic lumberjack named Kennebec Joe struck upon the solution. There are certain nocturnal species of tree that are only seen at night, and experienced lumbermen go night logging to harvest them. It was on one such night logging expedition that Kennebec Joe first saw a slumbering Hugag leaning against a tree to support its massive frame. Because of its kneelessness, the Hugag must sleep standing up, like a Frenchman. Kennebec Joe learned to distinguish which particularly attractive and comfortable trees the Hugag favored, and he began notching them, sawing halfway through the trunk. When the Hugag leaned against the weakened tree at night, its great weight would break the tree in two, causing the creature to fall helpless to the ground. If you, dear reader, have ever tried to stand up without using your knees, you will know how difficult it is. Once the helpless beast is flailing on the forest floor, the hunter's only concern is reaching it before a wampus cat or fearsome Hugag discovers and consumes it, pine needles, bones, and all. Not coincidentally, this method allowed Kennebec Joe to fell a tree with only half the lumberjacking work. Thanks to Kennebec Joe's innovation, the Hugag population fell to manageable levels. They may still be spotted in the wild along the northern banks of Lake Huron, where human life is cheap and there is no law. Locals sometimes attempt to lasso them and put them to work drawing carts or sledges, but the resin from their piney skin just gums up the harnesses. The Hugag cannot be tamed, is the motto of the Manitoba branch of the Women's Christian Temperance Union. The most famous Hugag, though, is neither on the WCTU's medallions nor one of Kennebec Joe's trophies. Rather, it is the notorious talking Hugag discovered by Enoch Melanchthon in 1899. It transpired that Enoch Melanchthon, a local schoolteacher of upright and unimpeachable character, arrived one day in the notary public's office in Hayward, Wisconsin, and swore an affidavit that he had heard a Hugag speak, and not, furthermore, in the fragmentary and monotonous mode of the parrot, a cheap parlor trick, but in complete and intelligible sentences. The news set northern Wisconsin ablaze with excitement and a small degree of guilt. If the Hugag were indeed an intelligent creature capable of mastering the English idiom, perhaps it was criminal to saw through their sleep trees, also to decapitate them and use their skin for bathroom air fresheners. Egg-headed East Coast scientists flew, by Otto Zeppelin, to Wisconsin in an attempt to record a Hugag in the act of speech. But the only words their wax cylinders succeeded in catching were blurt and grrr, words of arcane meaning, and which some averred were not proper words at all. No one would play hangman and choose blurt. Enoch Melanchthon, meanwhile, sat through several dozen newspaper interviews before an enterprising reporter thought to have him transcribe the sentences he had heard the creature utter. In the newsroom, Enoch Melanchthon sat at a mahogany desk. He twirled a pencil around his thumb. He had to concentrate hard to remember the exact wording. Also, he was not the most literate of men. Painfully and laboriously, in crude block letters, Enoch Melanchthon slowly scrawled out what he remembered the Hugag saying. He wrote, "Help! Can anyone hear me? Help me! I am a prisoner in..." He got no further before the room cleared. The reporters were busy grabbing up saws and axes and heading into the Lumberwoods to notch trees in hopes of catching the dire Hugag and freeing whoever was in its belly. 19 Hugags fell that fateful week, each cut open to reveal only a collection of undigested tree barks. Before one was found that, one slit, emitted a pale young woman, clad in a dress made from pine needles, clutching a human skeleton. She explained quickly that she and her mother had been accidentally swallowed whole by a weak-eyed Hugag when she was a mere babe, presumably while the two of them sat on the low-hanging branch of a pine tree. Unable to escape from the creature's stomach, the two had learned to adapt to life inside the Hugag. They ate pine needles and bark, and the occasional passing snake. They kept themselves sane by humming hymns and reciting what few verses of Longfellow's Evangeline the mother could remember. Finally, the mother died from terminal despair, and the young woman found herself alone, accompanied only by her mother's skeleton, which she used as an armchair. She was very grateful to be freed at last from her strange captivity. She was especially happy to see the sun, about which she had heard many stories. And so, the mystery of the talking Hugag was solved. "This kind of thing probably happens more often than we know," said the governor of Wisconsin, Robert M. LaFollette, Sr., in his official statement to the media. The young woman's pine needle dress was donated to the Smithsonian, and that young woman grew up to be my wife. The Hugag, who could say "Vlop" and "Grr," turned out also to be a fake. Of course, the mother's skeleton was also donated to the Smithsonian, but was later stolen and used as a xylophone. Well, that was an interesting story, wasn't it? Have you ever thought about what life would be like without knees? I mean, I have sometimes. It keeps me up at night. But that's all we have for tonight. I hope you get some sleep. Tuck in tight. I'll see you next time. Sweet dreams. Good night.